getting good nutrition. So partnering with an organization known as Tumaini Youth Support Group, Tumaini Support Group, I realized that there's so much we have to do in terms of addressing the stigma that comes with HIV and AIDS. And at this point, we'll have most young people, teenagers, talking about it and just cutting down the stigma. So my interest was to ensure that these young people don't actually hold back their potential, their talent, because of what they were going through. By not going to school when they have to go for their drugs, they can still get somewhere to go and access what they missed during the school lesson. So we started a small library where they can get some books, where they can come and interact and share. So I'm looking at this as one of the ways of me helping the community in addressing HIV and AIDS, education, just killing two birds with one stone.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Now, just before we wind up, let me come to you, Tyra, and ask you, the world that you reimagined, are you hopeful it will come true?
Pardon?
The world that you reimagined, are you hopeful that it will come true, that world will come true?
I personally think that it will come true because I don't only state facts, I try my best to do what I say. So I'm personally a philanthropist who supports young boys and girls doing charity projects. If we get to teach the next generation that's coming, the next generation will have, you're going to see different changes are going to be made. As I mentioned earlier, a world where safety and loads of love are there. Okay. If you teach the young ones to show love to each other, the next generation will have a lot of love. And even if someone has a problem, you could go and ask them a question and it's going to be okay. They're going to help you. So I'm also a mentor to others. And if I say these words, I'll try my best into bringing up my organization that I own, Miss Gorgeous and Mr. Cool, to help this world be a better world.
Okay, thank you. We are coming to the end of our program, but let me get some quick comment as well from Joshua. Are you hopeful, Joshua, that the world that you reimagined will come true one day?
Yes. Don't think I know that it will come true.
I like your confidence.
Thank you. It's because I've been praying every day, and if you also pray every day, God will listen to you and do the same thing, and He will let Corona end and do as you want if you pray well and believe that He will do what you have prayed for.
To all that, Joshua, I say amen. Asante sana. And finally, Immaculate, just briefly, the world that you have reimagined, is it a world that might come true someday?
Yes, this world will come true because we are moving into the digital world. We are already into the digital world, but moving deeper into the digital world. So I believe with the digital and the remote learning, it's going to be possible. And I'm looking at the government. The government has already started partnering with organizations and creative and innovators, the education innovators, in taking up their projects. And I believe once everything goes into place, this world is going to come true. It's going to exist, and I'll be happy that it exists. And we'll just share the joy together.
Thank you so much, Immaculate. And finally, let me come back to you, Melissa, for a closing thought. Children are about to go back to school in January. How are you involved in supporting that transition from, people who are stuck at home to now going back to school?
Thanks. Actually, we're excited, hopeful that everything will go smoothly. So we've been actually helping the ministry prepare schools to open. in terms of specifically looking at water and sanitation facilities in schools, but also we're procuring masks for the children most needy children who need it. And actually also integrating issues related to mental health and psychosocial support into sort of the teachers' orientation, so that they're much more aware of what's happening. And I think, also very much looking at how we can be monitoring the guidelines that there are for school reopening. So we're supporting the ministry to do that. So we all need to join forces for this, right, to make it happen and to make it happen safely. So really looking forward to that.
And finally, they spoke about how they hope that their reimagined world will come true. What are your thoughts for the year ahead for our children?
I couldn't say it much better than what they did. So here's what I would say to kids. I would say dream big like you always do. Be curious. Be bold. Be confident, and be kind, because this is your world, your future, your turn to actually shape it in the way that you want, and we are here to support you, really. So that's a positive thought. We've got to think positively.
Okay. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Maniza, and to Tyra, and Joshua, and Immaculate. We're going to go on a short break now, but congratulations again to all of you. Wishing you all the best. Joshua, I'm still challenging you. Once you're done with the mountains of Africa, we want to go to Everest. I'll still be doing the little hills, but because you're younger, you're stronger, I'll let you do, Mount Everest and the others. But congratulations, guys, and thank you for joining us this morning as we mark the World Children's Day. Your World takes a short break now.
KCA University will celebrate its 12th graduation ceremony this Friday, 20th November 2020. The chief guest will be Professor Olive Mugenda, the second Chancellor of KCA University. Catch the virtual live proceedings of the ceremony on NTV. KCA University, creating transformative leaders for the fourth industrial revolution.
Rock plastic tips. Rock plastics are made with 100% virgin raw material. Rock plastics come with new and different unique designs.
Rock Industries brings you rock plastic with a variety of kitchenware, ranging from kitchen dishes, cups, plates, clothesline pegs, spoons, and even rulers for learners. These and more products, contact our offices on 0722 575619 or 0736 02 8181.
Jiko Koa, Kenya's highest saving, longest lasting and biggest Jiko, cooks fast using half the charcoal compared to other Jikos, so you use less fuel and receive extra savings. Enjoy our great discounts and save an extra 500 Kenya shillings when you buy Jiko Koa at your nearest shopping outlet.
Chrissy Bila worries. Chrissy Naivas is now on with the biggest and tastiest offers this festive season. every day 350 winners Kula shopping voucher worth 2,000 shillings. All you need to do is simply present your Naivas card when you shop for your chance to be one of the winners. Naivas saves you money.
Benefits of African oolong tea. It's an antivirus treatment of the future. It can be used as herbal medicine, reduces the risk of cardiovascular diseases and cancer. It should be used with hot water only.
African oolong tea is a proudly Kenyan tea brought to you by Akman Limited. It's available in all leading supermarkets, chemists, gift shops, and Jumia online. To place an order or get in touch with us, contact us on the listed address on your screen.
This is NTV.
Okay, so that's the end of this segment of Your World. I want to thank all my guests, Tyra, Joshua, Immaculate, and my guest here, Maniza Zaman, who's the UNICEF representative to Kenya. We're going over for our live coverage on the Africa Industrialisation Day 2020, for a live coverage on that, and then we'll be back with another discussion about children on World Children's Day. My name is Joseph Warungu, and this is NTV.
I voted for talking to our exporters that has now picked up. As a ministry, we have provided the necessary guidelines for the conduct of business. The ministry has always been very keen at the forefront of ensuring that we don't have complete business shutdown. We've worked very hard with our colleagues in the Ministry of Health to ensure that there are protocols for business continuity. The Kenyan business community has spent time and taken a reason up to the task to produce necessary medical commodities that used to be imported. Personal protective equipment, masks, and ventilators, and all these products have been previously imported. But I'm actually very glad to know that in the space of 2 weeks, the Kenyan business community had adjusted themselves to be able to supply these goods, and currently we enjoy goods that are made in Kenya. E-commerce and digital trade have really taken off. We have latent capacity within our sector for reimagining our businesses and for innovation. And my message to the SMEs is this: that government is always being available and will continue being available to support you.
Our manufacturers responded by looking at it and saying, what can we do and fill the gap? And as we stand, indeed we are now exporting PPEs and face masks, things like sanitizers and the rest. We did it here locally. We are very far towards developing the ventilators. And as we speak today, the one by Kenyatta University has already been certified by Kenya Bureau Standards. In fact, it's just awaiting final tests by the Ministry of Health so that it can be released to go to the market.
All universities around the world have a mandate to solve problems that inflict their societies. As we're talking today, we are very proud that Kenyatta University was able to produce this ventilator and this one. We have certificates and approval for the KEBS, Kenya Bureau of Standards. We have approval from the Kenyatta University Ethical Review Committee to produce this equipment, and we are still waiting for clinical trials at Kenyatta University Research and Referral Hospital.
We have Kenya Institute of Research, Kenya Industry Research Development Institute, KILDI, which has been supporting innovators and incubating them. When they have innovation, they want to do something, we have been setting them. The fellows who have invented, we have assisted them in registering their patents through keeping KEBS. Kenya Bureau of Standards has come in handy to give them standardization marks so that their product can assess the market, for instance, the PPEs, and the people doing the PPEs, and the first one, the standardization, for them to get the standardization mark. It has been free of charge. We've not been, the GEPS has not been charging anything.
To mitigate against the effects of COVID-19, the government challenged manufacturers to stand up to the occasion and begin producing locally essential medical supplies. The response was surprising as much as it was overwhelming.
COVID-19, we have been involved in supply of medical gases and medical air and other gases to hospitals. We've also entered into a new area of medical reticulation in county hospitals and national hospitals. We've done a lot more work in that area. We've also been available to advise hospitals and counties and other mission hospitals on what is the best solution for making available oxygen.
The country saw mass production of face masks and personal protective equipment for medics and the general population. This was done from communities to large factories.
We have clients from KEMSA, we have clients from referral hospitals, and that means we have KNH, we have Kenyatta University Referral Hospital, MTH, Referral Hospital, and some the level 5 hospitals across the country. We have been able to serve them with protective gear, sports, surgical, and we also got masks for the people working within the hospital precincts.
They came in form of basic hygiene products, sanitizers, and disinfectants. The country experienced a renaissance of innovations ranging from high dependent unit hospital beds, hand washing stations, ventilators, and for the first time also, the country began local production of thermoguns.
When COVID came, I wanted to buy a thermometer. I went to town and I bought the thermometer for 22,000. When I opened it, I saw that the components that are inside, they will not cost me more than 1,000. So I said, something has to be done. And if it's not us, then who else will be able to do that? So I brought the team together, we started working on it. Within a month, we had a complete product and we pushed it to the market for 5,000.
Above all, the manufacturing sector ensured that basic supplies continued to reach the public.
Kenyans are smart. Given an opportunity, Kenyans can innovate, Kenyans can create, Kenyans are able and capable of producing goods for their own use. Let us buy Kenya and build Kenya.
We need to start giving life to our industry and to preserve our jobs, because everybody out there is talking about jobs, whether it's the US, European Union, UK, Japan, China, India. They're all talking about how we preserve jobs, because it's a global pandemic. It has global ramifications on jobs. And I think we also need to start thinking that we need to manufacture locally, we need to ensure our jobs retain locally, and we need to make sure that we keep our head above water.
COVID-19 crisis will be with us for a while, and we are at the phase of flattening the curve. We'll get to the phase where we'll be fighting for the survival of the economy and move to the future of what the country looks like. The other important thing that has come out during COVID is the issue of technology and the fact that the fourth industrial revolution is here with us. So issues around the Internet of Things, 3D printing, incorporation of technology into the manufacturing sector and also into our supply chains. We have seen e-commerce take a front line during this period. Even as we have had to shut down some parts of our economy because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the manufacturing sector has continued to ensure that essential goods are supplied.
We discovered ourselves as a country, and the role of the ministry is to maintain that momentum and with purpose industry and local production to achieve that going forward.
When COVID-19 pandemic first broke out, it took the world by storm and in an unprecedented manner.
My fellow Kenyans, on Friday, March 6th of
of this year, the government of Kenya received confirmation
Thank you.
of the first case of COVID-19, more commonly known as coronavirus.
The world global supply chain was disrupted, leaving manufacturers who are used to.
Right. Many thanks to Dr. PS Francis Owino for putting that together with the team from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, as well as the Department of Film Services. Clearly some illuminating insights into the efforts which have gone into ensuring that we are resilient, even as we face the ravaging effects of the COVID-19 pandemic as an economy, as a country, and how do we move forward from these challenges that we are presently facing. We'd like to thank the manufacturers for stepping up to the occasion and ensuring that this country continues to move forward and ensuring we still have the products that we need for our day-to-day subsistence. Thank you very much. And moving on swiftly, I'd like to invite the project director for the Kenya Industry and Entrepreneurship Program to make a presentation and maybe just some context into that. This is a project which is being spearheaded by the Ministry of Trade and Industry, supported by the World Bank, and of course the target is to ensure that micro, small and medium-sized enterprises have access to the markets that they need, are receiving the incubation support that they need. When you talk about startups, how are they being facilitated just to ensure that our business environment remains thriving, even as we continue to face the challenges and opportunities which are being presented by the situation we are facing presently as an economy. And therefore, I'd like to make that invitation to the project director, KIEP, to come on the stage and make a presentation on this most critical project in this country. Perhaps we might need to have some lights on. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Principal Secretary Dr. Francis Owino, project coordinators, honorable guests from UNIDO, all protocols observed. SMEs are the backbone of every economy in the world. They employ, on average, 60% of a nation's workforce. They feed our population. They provide transport. They entertain us. They dress us, and they cater for our holidays. We celebrate entrepreneurship, and we watch in awe how the likes of Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, or Jeff Bezos transcend unthinkable borders and change the world. But that's the tip of the iceberg. It's the part that we, as customers and onlookers, see and enjoy. But underneath the surface, the story is very different. When we zoom in on the men and on the women who try to make things happen, we see relentless hard work. We see dreams that so often are out of reach. We see deals won and we see deals lost. We see worrying about meeting the next payroll. And we see worrying about chasing clients that pay late and derail our entire business. This morning, we're talking about entrepreneurship, a topic that is broad and that is wide and can be discussed from many different angles. In the next 5 minutes, we're not focusing on startups, we're not focusing on youth programs, and we're not focusing on micro businesses. All of these groups need and deserve our support, and they have the full attention of government and of private sector institutions. But there is one group of entrepreneurs, of SMEs, that seems to be perennially overlooked. And I'm really talking about those small businesses climbing the pyramid, crossing bridges and hurdles, only to see even bigger summits to be scaled. Entrepreneurs who do not use the word challenges, but prefer to call them opportunities. Companies who, through years of blood, sweat and tears, and often against the odds, have created a viable and proud business. A business that creates annual revenues of 50 million shillings, of 250 million shillings, or perhaps even 500 million shillings. They are the trailblazers of the private sector. They are the scouts of a large army of aspiring followers. Well, what is then the problem, you may ask? Why do we need to concern ourselves with them? They've already made it, haven't they? Not so. As these entrepreneurs grow their businesses, each time they reach a new plateau or climb a new mountain, they will need to tune their business, their marketing, their operations, their product service propositions to an ever more competitive and demanding marketplace. As we attempt to scale Mount Kenya, and some of us here have done that, we know that we need help from an experienced guide who knows the landscape and can help us avert serious mishaps. In the business world, it is really no difference. It can be a matter of life or death. Creating a successful, town-based local business is no mean feat whatsoever. But building a company with countrywide customers is infinitely more complicated. But growing to the level of competing regionally or internationally is an entirely different ballgame. And the simple truth is, ladies and gentlemen, we do not have enough SMEs in Kenya that reach that level. Companies that build the Kenya brand at home and overseas. Companies that meet or exceed world-class standards, that compete internationally or become preferred suppliers of large domestic corporations. And that now brings us to KIEP 250. 3 years ago, long before the world had heard of COVID-19, the government of Kenya and the World Bank put their heads together to create a private sector support program, a program that would be unparalleled in scope, unparalleled in ambition and deliverables, a program that would be drawing on knowledge, expertise and resources from around the world, a program that would link aspiring SMEs to large corporate lead firms, be it in Kenya or abroad, to financial institutions, be it commercial banks or private equity investors or specialty finance companies, to the world of academia and research, a program that would have different components, some focusing on startups, others on more established SMEs. Ladies and gentlemen, today, later this morning, we are launching the first part of what has become known as the Kenya Industry and Entrepreneurship Project, in short, KIEP. The component that KIEP is launching today is focusing on established SMEs, those that climbed the pyramid. They were those with the ambitions, the passion, and the perseverance to reach the very, very top. This is KIEP Component 2, linkages and upgrading. We have dubbed this part of KIEP, KIEP 250. KIEP 250 stands for 250 fast-growing SMEs that we shall invite into an SME support program. 250 or more SMEs that will receive performance-based grant funding to enable them to hire the best specialists that we can find to help them build better businesses. Businesses that innovate, businesses that deploy state-of-the-art technology, pursue international sales strategies, or become preferred local suppliers to our own domestic industries. Over time, successfully competing with international rivals through better products and eventually viable competitive pricing. So let me, in the next minutes, briefly explain how KIEP 250 is going to work. First of all, the objective of KIEP 250. The objective is really to help SMEs foster innovation, create productivity, and pursue market linkages. How are we achieving that? Over the next 4 years, KIEP shall be organizing 6 calls for application. And the first call will open by the end of this morning. From the SMEs that apply for inclusion into KIEP, we shall rate, we shall assess, and we shall shortlist approximately 40 to 50 SMEs to participate in each of those 6 cohorts over the next 4 years. Eligible SMEs must meet a number of criteria. The first one is sales. We focus on larger SMEs, those that generate annual revenues of at least 50 million shillings per year and have the capacity to grow this many times over. Priority goes to SMEs that are active in manufacturing, active in healthcare, active in food security or affordable housing. Another important eligibility criteria to be included in KIEP is what we call nominations. SMEs must be nominated by a lead firm they work with, or a financial institution that finances them, or a business association that they are a member of. This serves for us as a strong business reference and helps us to evaluate the likelihood that we select SMEs that will eventually meet the program objectives. Those SMEs that make it to the shortlist will be diagnosed by a team of KIEP 250 business consultants to assess their strategy, their business model, operations and controls, and to bring areas of improvement to the surface. Based on these gaps for business improvement, a performance improvement plan is drawn up that highlights the areas where KIEP can provide financial support and technical assistance. Our focus will be on solving gaps in the areas of innovation, technology, and improving management skills. KIEP 250 will work with the best specialists we can find in Kenya and sometimes overseas to address these business improvement areas that may enable SMEs to reach new heights. We, as KIEP, shall bear the bulk of the costs of hiring these specialists, recruiting, requiring the SME to provide an own contribution in the area of 30%. A few examples that KIEP could fund and support to visualize it for you. We could support SMEs in installing a new enterprise resource planning system. We could allow a healthcare provider to manage services and supplies. We could be deploying a fruit management system for an aspiring horticultural exporter. We could provide management coaching for a company in the midst of a business transformation. A cash management system to track timely payment by off-takers. A digital marketing platform for SMEs building alternative distribution channels. The list how we can support SMEs is truly endless. So, coming to the end of my speech, let me summarize what KIEP 250 does. We provide technical support, funding, to help better businesses. We do not provide credit. We do not provide SMEs finance. We reimburse SMEs for hiring top specialists that help guide and grow them to reach new altitudes. KIEP funding consists of performance-based grants, not loans. We shall work with eligible SMEs across the entire country. And last but not least, we shall include at least 50 superb women-owned or women-led businesses into our program. Ladies and gentlemen, let us, in closing, reflect on the profound disruption and hardship caused by the COVID crisis. A hurricane has gone through the SME landscape and many houses have been flattened. But some have withstood the storm and have adapted their business model to cater for new needs and opportunities. And others are picking up the pieces and rebuilding their businesses with lessons learned, with stronger foundations this time, and an increased flexibility to bend in the wind and with the wind. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall overcome the COVID hurricane. KIEP 250 is coming to market exactly at the right time, and we shall work tirelessly to contribute to a vibrant, resilient, and above all, professional SME sector that will do Kenya proud. And in the words of Kenya's most famous son, yes we can, and yes we will. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Martin, for giving us that presentation on Key Up to 50. Clearly, it's a game changer entering the market. Key take-homes, performance-based grants, not loans, technical support for SMEs, and reimbursement for hiring top talent to, of course, enhance performance. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize the presence of the CS for the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Madam Betty Maina. Welcome. We really appreciate your creation of time to be part of this critical conversation, and we look forward to your presentation on the same. Up next, we have remarks from the UNIDO representative to also give us an insight into the significance of this day on matters industry and trade. Please welcome. Just before she takes the floor, I'd like to remind us that you can be part of the conversation online by tweeting hashtag Africa Industrialization Day KE. It's a conversation going on across the globe. So please feel free to plug into Twitter, Facebook, wherever it is, and be part of the conversation. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kawira Buchana, and I'm the UNIDO representative. Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Industrialization, Madam Betty Maina, Principal Secretary Industrialization, Dr. Francis Owino, all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here today to read remarks on behalf of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization on the 2020 edition of the Africa Industrialization Day celebrations. Aid provides an opportunity, and when I say aid, I'm not meaning assistance. I'm referring to the Africa Industrialization Day provides an opportunity for governments, development partners, and all other stakeholders to review progress made and challenges faced by African countries seeking to strengthen industrialization. Additionally, countries also discuss innovative ways of sustainable and inclusive for impactful industrial development in Africa. This year, the theme is inclusive and sustainable industrialization in the AFCFTA, that is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, COVID-19 era. And that is a befitting choice of the theme. The AFTA is expected to usher in $3 trillion US single market with 1.27 billion customers by January 2021. Evidently, AFTA presents huge possibilities to tap into unexploited opportunities within the continent, and with the potential to spur industrial growth and national, regional, and continental economic development, and enhance African private sector competitiveness to take full advantage of new and emerging opportunities ushered in by the Free Trade Agreement. AFTA also aims at enhancing intra-African trade while fostering a conducive environment attractive to foreign direct investment. Africa also has the potential to be one of the world's competitive manufacturing hubs. In this context, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization is convinced that industrialization and integration are critical enablers for Africa's impactful transformation. The importance of industrialization has been further highlighted by the COVID-19 pandemic that has affected all sectors of the economy. That includes health, it includes manufacturing, tourism, trade, services, and agriculture. The pandemic has caused negative growth rates across the continent, and indeed, Africa was projected to have an annual growth rate of approximately 4%, but certainly that is now questionable, and it's a grim picture for many of the economies. However, despite the challenges posed by the pandemic, Africa has demonstrated resilience on several fronts, including continued commitment to operationalize the AfCFTA in January 2021, because Africa countries believe that AfCFTA and its opportunities will trickle down to community levels, particularly when integration, industrialization of the continent roll out and facilitate economic diversification and value chain development to attract both domestic and foreign direct investment. In addition to this, the benefits expected from the implementation of AfCFTA, there are several other factors that can enhance Africa's industrialization. Among these factors, the three key ones are: one, harnessing innovative technology and the fourth industrial revolution. Digital transformation, low-cost renewable energies, the green transition provide opportunities for Africa to leapfrog. Innovative technological solutions contribute to improved productivity, quicker transactions, and access to wider markets, particularly for SMEs. Kenya is a digital hub in the region, and it's well positioned to take advantage of the digital transformation and innovation agenda. Improving the enabling environment, Kenya has made notable improvements in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index, moving from position 61 in 2019 to 56 in 2020. With a friendly business and regulatory environment, Africa and Kenya in particular offer significant investment opportunities to domestic and foreign investors, which in the long term would lead to the much needed economic diversification in transformative sectors such as agriculture, industry, infrastructure, energy, and ICT. Increased foreign direct investment flows to the continent rose from $46 billion in 2018 to $49 billion in 2019. However, Kenya's foreign direct investment inflows fell by $31.3 billion last year. Annual estimates by UNCTAD show, partly reflecting depressed growth in new jobs that has been worsened by the coronavirus pandemic. This challenge presents an opportunity for Kenya to focus on increasing both foreign and domestic investment as country implements measures to facilitate a recovery path and build better approach. Ladies and gentlemen, to complement these factors, we also need to enhance our efforts to address related challenges, including poor infrastructure, appropriate skills development targeting industry needs, poor environment for private sector development, and support to medium, small, and micro enterprises. Towards this end, UNIDO is committed to partner with Kenya and support the implementation of our innovative program for country partnership, PCP, to accelerate inclusive and sustainable industrial development in Kenya. The PCP plugs directly into the manufacturing pillar of the Big Four agenda. However, the PCP contributes to all the other three pillars of the Big Four agenda in that, one, the manufacturing of medicines contribute to the provision of the universal health care. Value addition of agricultural commodities contribute to ensuring food security. And 3D printed modular housing contributes to increased access to affordable housing. The PCP rests on a multi-stakeholder partnership And it is designed to mobilize partners, to mobilize resources, to achieve a larger development impact. We therefore urge development partners, the Kenya private sector, to support and participate in PCP activities. The success of the PCP in Kenya will serve as a model to be emulated in other developing countries that are seeking to use this model for their industrial development agenda. This is a further confirmation of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta's role in promoting implementation of projects that contribute to the achievement of the Industrial Development Decade for Africa 3. Thank you very much for being here today. And before I take my seat or go back to my seat, I request you to allow me just 1 minute of your time to demonstrate something small, to talk about something small. I'll talk about the dress I'm wearing today in the context of the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. The dress I wear today, the fabric is made in Kenya from cotton that was grown by Kenyan farmers. The thread was spun in a ginnery in Kenya. When the fabric was it was packed and transported by Kenyan transporters. It was tailored by a Kenyan tailor. And I bought the fabric from a shop that is run by a Kenyan. Now, what am I trying to say? I know I am short of time, but what am I trying to say? Half a second. If this dress costs only 2,000 shillings, it means that with the Kenya population of approximately 50 million, it means that if 20% of Kenyans, that is 10 million Kenyans, were each to patronize a Kenyan item, like the dress that I am wearing today, then that would pump in 20 billion Kenya shillings into the economy, and that is if you're only buying one per year. 20,000 billion Kenya shillings pumped into the economy, employment created because you are buying made in Kenya. So let us all come together, buy Kenya, build Kenya. Thank you.
Many thanks, Madam Kawera, for that very powerful demonstration. Buy Kenya, build Kenya, end-to-end across the value chain. In the interest of time, I'd like to invite the PS, Dr. Francis Owino, please. And the ministry is the Ministry of Industrialisation, Trade and Enterprise Development. I got it wrong earlier. I'm sorry.
Madam Betty Maina, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Industrialisation, Trade and Enterprise Development. Mrs. Kawira Bushana, UNIDO Country Representative, industrialists, innovators, distinguished guests, fellow Kenyans, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to participate in this event and to join fellow Kenyans in various parts of the country to celebrate this year's African Industrialization Day. Africa Industrialization Day gives the African continent and individual countries opportunity to put momentum to the continent's quest to industrialize. It is a time to refocus our local content development with a view to harnessing domestic resources for enhanced in-country value addition and retention, which culminate in more and better paying jobs for our people and greater economic growth. This year's event comes in the midst of the challenge of COVID-19, a global pandemic that has stolen the pomp and color that had become the hallmark of these celebrations. We are, however, on board and must instead feel called to accord industry more support, even as we even as a way of defeating the very monster, as we keep the population supplied with essential commodities such as PPEs, amongst others. This year's theme, Inclusive and Sustainable Industrialization in Africa and the COVID-19 era, resonates well with our Kenya Vision 2030, which aims at making Kenya a newly industrializing middle-income country, providing high-quality life for all its citizens by the year 2030, and Agenda 2063, which aspires for a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development, amongst others. We remain confident that industrialization is the way to go for individual African countries and the continent as a whole, and will continue to support domestic industry to grow, to expand, and diversify. On the other hand, I urge Kenyans to grow their taste in favor of locally made goods and services for the good of all of us, as well demonstrated by our UNIDO representative. As I conclude, I would like to pay glowing tribute to all actors and stakeholders in industry who have come out very strongly during the week-long activities that were lined up, culminating to today's celebrations. I particularly wish to praise the media for their role in showcasing and providing platforms for discussions around various aspects of industry in line with this year's theme. I also sincerely applaud African Union for putting up an elaborate program of virtual engagements throughout the African Industrialization Week, through which governments and industry players from the continent have had the opportunity to deliberate on a wide range of topics and sector issues. With these remarks, it is now my privilege and duty to invite our Cabinet Secretary, Madam Betty Maina, to address this gathering and the nation in celebrations. Let's appreciate her as she comes. Welcome, Madam CS.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I know the room is sparsely populated the way we must to maintain COVID compliance, so at least make sure we keep ourselves safe. I hope you've had a good breakfast, and I'm really delighted that we are here this morning to commemorate Africa Industrialization Day in 2020. It has been mentioned that the theme of this year's celebration is inclusive and sustainable industrialization in Africa in the context of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and the COVID-19 era. This theme could not have come at a better time, as the world is struggling to navigate through the effects of the coronavirus. You recall the words of our president and his dilemma when reviewing the restrictions, and the dilemma whether there is a choice between life and livelihoods. And there isn't, and we now have to learn to live with COVID, and therefore the theme of our session, of our Industrialization Day this year really reflects that realization and that commitment to enhance livelihoods as we save lives in the context of COVID. This would have been a much larger celebration, as we've done in previous years, with large exhibitions to showcase what is possible. But that will come once again, and I'm certain that the documentary that we just watched also demonstrates just the breadth of Kenya's capabilities. And as Kawira has mentioned, she's dressed in Kenyan capability in the textile and apparel. So we can see a lot of that present with us in the house today. The outbreak of COVID has really metted the world in unprecedented challenges in the way business is transacted. Some businesses have scaled down, while others have wound up, occasioning loss of jobs and income. But on the other hand, others have seized the opportunity to enhance their businesses. And we've seen that especially with e-commerce and digital trade. There's been a really, really big boom in that regard.
Our people have demonstrated that the ingenuity and domestic industry and have stood up. Many of us were very, very struck by concerns about disruptions of the supply chains at the beginning, and especially for needed medical commodities. But Kenyans have stood up, and we have seen many rise up from companies who never used to produce this equipment in the past. By the end of, just by the end of last month, I think, the Kenya Bureau of Standards had certified more than 110 companies to produce PPEs within the country. They supported them by making the applicable standards free and the certification process free. And from a high of nearly 200 shillings per piece or per mask, I think many of you are now buying masks at 10 bob. And the people who are making them are still making money. So we're excited by that. But it's not just PPEs that Kenyans have produced. Kenyans have also produced ventilators, and those are, preparing for clinical trial. Kenyans have produced, viral transport media, a lot of the stuff that, you require for collection of samples and transporting the same. And that basically builds up on the capabilities of Kenya. Amid every dark cloud, there is always a silver lining, and that is what COVID has taught us. Latest reports indicate that Kenya's total exports increased by 6%, or 30 billion, to record 480 billion in the period between January and September 2020, up from 450 billion over the same period in 2019. Imports also shrank this year. Therefore, we're actually starting to see, even in the midst of a pandemic like COVID, our trade numbers going up. To guarantee access to greater markets, our ministry has been negotiating free trade agreements with the United States, with the United Kingdom, with Europe, and more importantly, cementing our readiness for the Africa Continental Free Trade Area that goes live on 1st of January 2021. Our endeavor in negotiating for more markets really should give us impetus and motivation for our industries, and especially the majority of small and medium enterprises, to double down on their efforts to drive the export agenda by producing in Kenya. The current phenomenon of collapsed global value chains must cause us to rethink seriously about nurturing our strategic industries to grow and become competitive. It calls for all Kenyans to develop a taste for locally made goods and services in support of domestic industry, which would then give the motivation to those producers to produce even more and become ready for the international market. That is the spirit of the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya strategy. It isn't a strategy of just replacement of imports into our country. It's a strategy that drives production within Kenya, and as farms become more capable, they actually become capable for the export market. This Buy Kenya, Build Kenya strategy will contribute to employment creation and poverty reduction, promote in-country value addition and retention, stimulate production and product diversification, and encourage the growth of local industries. Local content development is exercised worldwide by both developing and developed countries. Countries have legislations that accord preference to locally made goods and services, and Kenya is no exception. The Kenya government has taken a very bold and deliberate move to champion local content development, as manifested in various initiatives. As we've mentioned, the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya strategy, the access to government procurement opportunities for young people, local content policy, which has been approved by Cabinet, and we're currently drafting the legislation to go along with it, Preferential Procurement Master Roll number 1 of 2020, which comprises 334 products that must be exclusively sold by government entities from Kenyan manufacturers, and the government circulars on preferences and reservations. We continue to work with our colleagues in government to enforce these directives, so that, because government is the largest consumer of goods and services, and therefore would boost industry a lot if we continue to implement these strategies. And we work with our colleagues in government to adhere to this directive. One of the products that we are launching today is Component 2 of the Kenya Industry and Entrepreneurship Project, and Martin has ably shared on what KIEP 250 Plus is about. And today we will be launching the website and the SmartMe platform, which is an online application tool for identifying and objectively selecting the SMEs from the respective 6 cohorts to be undertaken during the remaining 4 years of the project. KIEP aims to increase innovation and productivity in select private sector firms by strengthening existing incubators, accelerators, rapid technology skills training or boot camps, small and medium enterprises, linkages, and upgrading. KIEP will also involve strengthening this innovation ecosystem and the creation of linkages between the startups and traditional industries and international networks. We seek to address the lack of self-awareness by most enterprises needed to improve the capital and incentives to upgrade their managerial and technical skills, machinery, and equipment. We have mentioned, and Martin has mentioned, that we are targeting more than 250, that's why it's 250 plus, SMEs to be identified through a lead firm approach, and the linkages therein. This opportunity this facility is being launched at an opportune time when most SMEs have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and we therefore believe that the diagnostic tool will enable SMEs to adapt resilient and sustainable business models. And we encourage all SMEs to take advantage of this facility, log into the website, and log into the website for further details. I therefore want to thank you so much for joining us at this moment. I want to thank you, NIDO, for the partnership you have demonstrated, not just with Kenya, but with the rest of Africa, because I'm aware that you're co-sponsoring the celebrations of Africa Industrialization Week this week with ECA and other colleagues in Addis. I'm sorry we might miss the high-level segment today, but we want to thank you for continued support to Africa's industrialization. We want to thank you for nominating and appointing our president, a champion of African industrialization decade, and for the partnership that we have in the Partnership for Country Programs Facility that we are currently preparing together. Kenya is in a good place to take advantage of the opportunities that come with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We believe that we have capacity to supply a lot of the imported goods that come into Africa, whether it's processed food, whether it is textiles, whether it is machinery, and we rely on the innovation of Kenyan enterprise, both large and small, to take advantage of these markets. As government negotiates for greater markets across the continent and across the world, we are calling upon Kenyan entrepreneurs to also invest for the sake of this market so that we can grow ourselves, generate jobs for our young people, and grow our economy. We have every confidence that we are capable of doing that, and the Kenyan enterprise has demonstrated in the year 2020 that it can rise up to this challenge. And let's go walk boldly into the future to be able to take advantage of these immense opportunities. Our ministry remains open to ideas on how this can be done and to walk the journey and to support industries as they walk this journey. Asante sana, and we really celebrate this Industrialization Day together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, CS Betty Minor, for those remarks. I wish I had time for recap, but we are quite pressed for time. I'd like to invite, sorry CS to bother you again, to invite CS and PS, Daktari, to come for the launch of the KIEP 250. Thank you. Just stand here. Edith will hand you with a gadget. So this initiative clearly seeks to change the landscape for the business environment in Kenya and CS. No, you haven't. Remember, this is a $50 million initiative seeking to infuse life into the business environment in Kenya through supporting startups. Martin gave us a very good summary. There we have it. Many, many thanks. Thank you so much, CS. Thank you, PS.
Wanasherehekea miaka 20 na wewe. Piga star 444 star 20. Tumia shilingi 20 pekee utunukiwe 20 minutes na 20 MB.
I heard about the Equity Wings to Fly program. I applied and I was able to get in. They paid for everything, literally everything that I needed. I'd like to start an initiative like the one Equity started here to sponsor students.
Oh my, oh my, oh my days. Life is wonderful. Life is wonderful. Life is wonderful.
KCA University will celebrate its 12th graduation ceremony this Friday, 20th November 2020. The chief guest will be Professor Olive Mugenda, the second Chancellor of KCA University. Catch the virtual live proceedings of the ceremony on NTV. KCA University, creating transformative leaders for the fourth industrial revolution.
Every spoonful of Nutri comes loaded with the necessary vitamins, protein and minerals for you and your family to become healthier and stronger. Pick up a pack today from your nearest store. Nutri, every spoonful counts.
So welcome back to Your World this Friday morning, our last segment of the show. And today being World Children's Day, we focus this discussion that's coming up now on children. And with me is Mr. Shege Ngugi, who is the Country Director for Child Fund. Welcome and good morning.
Thank you, sir. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Now, let's start from the beginning.
Yes.
Before we even talk about the dates of how has, from your experience, how has COVID-19 pandemic impacted, children in this season?
Maybe before I answer your question, maybe you can introduce who we are.
Yes.
Child Fund is an international child-focused organization that has been in existence since 1938. We are in 60 countries, reaching about 15 million children. Here in Kenya, we've been in Kenya since 1960s. And we reach we're in 26 counties, and we reach about 51,000 children that are cut across. So ours is to ensure that children are taken care of, are protected, are well-fed, are in good health. So we work across what we call 3 life stages. There's life stage 1, which is 0 to 5 years. And in that, we focus on aspects to do with early childhood development, nutrition and health. The other life stage 2, where we look at, that is 6 to 14 years. And in that, we focus on key areas, health and education. The third life stage is 15 to 24, and those are young adolescents. So in that, we look at issues to do with sexual and reproductive health. We look at vocational training and livelihoods, but also inclusivity. How are these young adolescents included in the community? So going back to your question, I think COVID to me came at a very wrong time. Of course, there's no good timing for anything.
Yes,
it's a pandemic. But it came at the wrong time because Kenya had just experienced a number of hazards, emergencies, flooding, desert locust infestation, and even community hostilities among others. So COVID in itself, for me, I look at it as a global child rights crisis. It has exposed children to exploitation, abuse, poverty, and all that. But for me, critically, 2 things that, as an organization, we look at the issue of hunger and violence against children. And that is what's happening. I can give you an example here in Kenya. There's a study, what they call violence against children. It's annual survey. And it was carried out in 2019. It was released a few months ago. And two critical statistics. One, that 1 in every 2 children in Kenya experience violence. What does that tell you? If you take children like...
is that during the pandemic or just...
No. Just before the
yes.
pandemic.
Right.
So if you look at that, if you say children are 0 to 14, you're talking about 18 million children. And if you're talking one in every 2, that's like 50%. So you're talking 9 million children experience violence. The other thing we look at is marriage, child marriage. 1 in every 4 children in Kenya get child marriage. Again, that's a big number. So when you look at what COVID has done, it has exacerbated that. More children are now exposed. We are reading statistics of children, what you're calling child violation in things, rape, child abuse in other areas, and especially girls. There are so many cases of girls that have been reported in the media. There are studies now showing that. And there's fear that the continued closure of schools, that mostly maybe girls may not even go back to school. Before the COVID, the rate of school dropout, primary school, was 21%, according to UNICEF report. We are fearing now, because of what COVID is doing, that number may go up. The other thing I can give you is that schools, now that the schools are closed, a number of things are happening. One, schools used to have school meals, and a number of children used to go to school in some areas because they're getting meals in school.
And now that is no longer...
It's no longer there, and we're talking that hitting like 1.6 million children in Kenya. Just that. The other statistic that is of importance, if most schools are also the hub for water and sanitation, that you find children and their families go to school to get water. Now those schools are closed. What does that mean? That these families and children do not have access to water.
So although the concern is for children, but there's also been an impact on families, actually.
Yes. A big one because
household, yeah.
When there was this containment measures, you know, the curfew, the number of people who can be, you know, the physical and social distancing, a number of businesses were closed. A number of people lost their jobs. And what has that meant? That they are not able to provide for their families. And that what we've seen is that we have seen now, because most of them are now at home, there's nothing to do. Two things that have been coming up. One is gender-based violence, because they're at home, there's nothing to provide. The other one is child labor. You have seen all of a sudden an increased number of children on the streets try to sell so that they can also put money, they can put something on the table. So those are some of the issues that have gone beyond children but now affecting the household.
What kind of interventions have you contributed in trying to address some of these issues?
As an organization, we have four key areas under this. One is ensuring that children are not affected by COVID. That's one area, and I'll tell you what we are doing. The third area is ensuring that children are protected from violence. The third area, ensuring that children go to school or they learn. So what we have done, and the other one is ensuring that they have access to nutrition, to food. So in the area of ensuring children are not affected or infected, we have a number of interventions such as preparing, you know, child-friendly and age-appropriate messages that are able to educate children how they should behave if this happens and how they should take care of themselves. The other measure in that, so we are doing a lot of publication, distribution, even using radios and community loudspeakers to educate children and all that, and their families. The other area we have done is to ensure the nutrition aspect. We have had two types of intervention: cash transfer to their families, an average of maybe 3,000 Kenya shilling per month, where now those families are able to buy food and provide.
How do you identify those ones who are in need?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Because you can say everybody is in need.
Absolutely.
Actually, as I mentioned, we are a sponsorship organization. So we have these 50,000 children. So we have a criteria, how do we select these? So it's a criteria looking at the vulnerability. So we don't just go ahead and handpick. There's a well-established selection criteria. You're looking at vulnerability. You're looking at sources of livelihood. Like now we are saying some people have lost their sources of income, they have lost their jobs. So such families, or families that are headed by children, or families with children with disabilities and all that. So we look at all that, and based on that, then we say we're giving that. So we have given cash transfer to big numbers, or close to about $600,000 since COVID started. The other area related to that, we give them e-vouchers, electronic vouchers, so that they can now get that and go and retrieve what they need, be they food, be they sanitation material like basins for store and tanks for storing water at the households and all that. We have also worked with corporates like Coca-Cola, where they have helped us install community hand washing facilities. We have done that in Nairobi, in Mukuru. We have done that in Kisumu, Nyarenda, slums and all that. So that's one measure that we have taken to ensure that children are protected. The other measure that is critical when you work closely with the government is the aspect what you call community-based child protection mechanism. So that there's that level, at the community level, the communities take responsibilities.
How does that happen? How does that work?
There are already existing structures on the community level,
right,
that are linked to the duty holders like police and the chiefs and all that. So ours is to train and revitalize them and sensitize them and support them, put that system in place. It's working. And of course, linked to that is what you call area coordination councils. These are the government structures that address the needs to do with children. So we link the community-based child protection mechanisms, the committees, with the area child coordination councils, and that's how that works.
And I can imagine that during the pandemic, even providing that kind of help, there must be challenges, because these are not normal times.
Oh yeah, there are challenges, even accessibility. They are because like there was containment measures. The issue of you can't go to this county, you can't go to this. So what we do, and it's because of the structure, we are more of a community-based organization. We have what you call community-based health volunteers or health workers. Those are the people now we focus on. Then they are able to, because they are that part of that community, they know the community very well, so they are able now to do that. But there are challenges, of course. And then what you do again, because like during COVID, you saw me, I came with a mask here. The same thing, so what we need to do, we had to do is provide protective equipment to the community health volunteers so that they're able to get to the community.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, children are looking forward to the reopening of schools in January.
Yes.
But before then, it had to, remote learning has been what's been your involvement in that?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because globally, actually, just before I come to Kenya, about 188 countries closed their schools because of the COVID. And that affected billions of children. Now, in Kenya, we did the same. And we introduced what the online or distant learning platforms, mostly led by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. And it was expected that children would be able to hook into that. But we have seen, in fact, I think less than 30% of children were able to hook online to hook into that platform, because some of them, they did not have internet to start with. Some of them live in very poor areas. They don't have electricity. Some of them do not even have a radio. Simple thing, because
even connectivity and the cost of it.
So there's this need for government and other stakeholders to help internet connectivity and even and connection to national grid. So what we did as an organization, we looked what is the most ideal and practical way to do under this pandemic. And when we looked around and we said, yeah, there's this what they call solar radios. And these radios, you use a solar panel to charge it, then we charge it, and then you can use it. Now the children can use that radio to get into the KICD learning platform.
So you don't need batteries.
You don't need batteries. You don't need energy. You don't need electricity. And I have an example here.
Okay. Yes, I see. Yeah.
And this is one of it. This is a panel. Just put in the sun, and there it is. And now you put your area on so that you can, and it has both the shortwave and medium wave. And then you open.
Just turn it around for me. I want to see that.
That's a national.
Right.
And you see, and this is a panel. Then at night, if you want to study,
because turn down the volume so that we hear you. But, yeah.
At night, because as you said, some of them do not have electricity and all that, you want to turn this light on, and you're able to study.
Okay.
So, and this is it's very affordable. It's 1,500 Kenya shilling. We have bought close to 6,000 these solar radios that we have distributed to communities, even here in Nairobi, because some of them don't have electricity. Some of them even affording a radio is an issue. But the bulk of this has gone to the arid and some arid areas in northern Kenya.
What's been the response to the radio?
It's amazing. Amazing. We cannot even meet the request now, the demand. Because in addition to studying, you can use this to charge your phone. It has a USB here. So you put it on the sun. As the son as the daughter or children are studying, the father's and the mother's phone is being charged.
An amazing piece of invention for that. What have been some of the other challenges around the online or remote learning in your view? So it means obviously a huge section of the population has been excluded. Effectively, inequalities therefore.
Yeah, I think the other thing is because of that one area is getting connected. The other area is time, because of the challenge. Some parents have not gone to school. They don't know value, so they send their children, go look after the animals, go to the farm and all that. So they have not been able to do that. Again, because of the literacy levels, even under normal circumstances, children will need to be guided when they come for homework, especially based on the new curriculum, competency-based curriculum. Some parents, they are not able to do that online because the child is here listening on the radio. The mother and the father out there looking for ways to survive. So that has been a major, and of course children are children. Because there's nobody looking at, there's no teacher, the parent is not there, they don't prioritize. Sometimes they just go out and play with others.
So what steps has government taken, and what have you as development agencies, how have you supported efforts of government?
I think we need to appreciate the efforts the government is doing. I think they have done a lot of work, like, bringing in, for example, the issue of reopening of schools. That was critical, I think, and we support that measure. So we worked with them to ensure that support them and also support the school. Like now, where we are Child Fund, we are working with schools to helping schools install hand washing stations, helping schools have sanitation, masks and all that, and sensitizing teachers and all that. So I think that's an area the government is doing quite well, and they need support. And there are many other areas that they need support, but there's also resources, financial resources, because many schools do not have the basic facilities. So there's need for development agencies and donors to support the government initiative to make sure that the schools are well prepared, so that as a parent, when you're sending a child to school, you're sure, or you're confident that is taken care of, is protected and all that.
So now, because I know you cover quite a number of areas.
Yes.
When you have a crisis such as one we have, the pandemic,
yes,
where do you prioritize? Is it a health response? Is it an education response? Is it a livelihoods response?
To me, I think, as I mentioned, this to me is a global child rights crisis, the rights of the children. The United Nations Convention on Rights of Children. So we look at that. So when you go out to like in households, like you're mentioning, you look at, once you address their livelihoods, like you give them cash transfer, they're able to make sure that they're providing for their children. They can even buy clothes, they can buy medicine. So that kind of, because there's no magic bullet that this one is going to. So you go in with a suite of services or integrated services that you're able to provide. Some of them, as an organization, you're not able to do that. So there's this issue of partnership with other organizations. And I can mention here in Kenya, we have what you call Joining Forces Alliance, which is an alliance of 6 biggest organizations focused with children. That is All Vision, Plan International, SOS Children's Home, Teres de Ome, Save the Children, and Child Fund. So we work supporting each other and looking at our coverage in the country. We are close to over around, we can say we're in the whole part of the country.
Right.
Yeah, so and that kind of coordination and partnership has helped us to support the government, to make sure that we are helping the government address this challenge.
Okay, now we asked our viewers at home to send us their comments regarding this whole issue of child rights and what can be done to stop some of these violations. Here are some of the comments that you've shared with us on our hashtag #NewNormal. So we asked you, World Children's Day, what can be done to stop child rights violation? And your comments, this is from Kamau David, where laws protecting rights of children should be enforced against any threat pointed on them. Severe punishment should be administered to offenders. Thank you, Kamau, for that. Bantu, you say, I think the Constitution should make some rights charges more tough in some instances, especially we should act like Dubai. Just a thought. So you want harsher penalties? Okay. Majai, you say, well, many children in Kenya are being abused by even, persons who are close to them or people they call family. Strict laws should be put in place to ensure these barbaric acts come to an end in our society. Thank you, Majai, for that. Isaac Kariuki, you say, well, watching from Samburu, thank you for joining us from Samburu. We appreciate the role the Child Fund is playing in advocating for protection and rights of children. Well, Onashege is listening to that. Kelvin Shaban, the so-called online learning is a myth in Kenya. Some people who purport to be experts have never taught from kids from slums. Online narratives aren't as easy the way some caricatures want us to believe. So you're saying it's not as easy as it looks. Thank you for that. Shem Nyeribo, you say, I wish all the children all over the world happy Children's Day and a happy life. Thank you very much indeed. So quite some call on us to, maybe a lot more needs to be done in terms of the legislative framework. Your thoughts to some of those comments?
I think there's 2 things here. One, we have in the country there's a commission, there's a committee led by Justice Martha Koome looking at the children's roles and all that, and they have done an impressive job. In fact, if you remember, a few weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, she became the second lineup person of the year because of our work in rights of the children and all that. So we have, as part of the Joining Forces Alliance, we have that partnership and relationship so that children are aware, but also more importantly, what I don't agree with one of the saying, harsher punishments. They should be there, but before you do that, let us educate our parents. Because I think there's a lot of work we need to do as government and development agencies to educate parents.
Because it starts in the family.
Yeah, it starts in the family. The issue of responsive parenting, that's an area we need to see. How do you educate our children to do that? Remember, we have even young children giving birth. They don't know some of all these things. So it's only fair before we put punitive measures that we also do an extra mile to educate them and make them aware of that. For example, there's the government of Kenya has done a good job actually, and they have come up what they are calling National Prevention and Response Plan 2019 to 2023. It's a very, very comprehensive plan on how to avoid and stop child violence and all that. But it has not been, how can I say, it has not been rolled out in all the counties. And that's one area, Joining Forces Alliance, including Child Fund, we are working with the government to support the government to roll that plan, national plan out. And that will help a lot in addressing these issues of child violence.
Now, a lot of the gains in terms of, eradication of some of these terrible, acts or, even violence or whatever on children, we've lost a bit of ground, and Kenya already has a target set by the president, for example, for year 2022 for the eradication of FGM.
Yes.
But now it's on the increase again.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. For example, it's interesting you're mentioning FGM because looking at this, a new UNFPA report on what referring as the status of the Kenya population 2020. And they have highlighted 3 major harmful traditional practices that we need to address. One of them is what you have mentioned. The other one is child marriage. And the third one, which many people may not, is son preference, where you find parents and families preferring their male child to go to school or do other things as opposed to both gender. So those are, and there's a lot, I think the government has done a lot, but it's now Kenyans themselves and families government has done the law. If the law is out there, there's a committee on FGM. I think we need to do more and educate again our communities, because punishment will not address this, I can tell you, Warungu. It is the awareness, the ownership and of that this is ours, this is my children, and this is. So they will need to know that FGM overall does not benefit that child. If anything, it's harmful.
So Bonachege, in the closing 2 minutes of the program, when you look ahead, because this is what Magoha told us, this is the lost year. Looking ahead to 2021 and possibly life post-COVID, what are your dreams and aspirations for our children?
You see, it's a bit painful looking at what's happening. And as we say, children have only one chance to grow. If we don't invest in them now, and they are going to have, their future is very bleak. So I think for us, we need to see how do we, at this particular time, invest in these children, help them overcome the challenges that they're encountering in COVID. And based on that, if we're able to do that, then build infrastructure that can help them, and also ensure that these policies and all that are rolled out, then we can avoid the lost generation. But we have to invest. For example, look at what we are seeing, money raised and all that. Good money is being raised. But if you look at, nothing is being directed to children. Apart from education, nothing else. You don't hear children being mentioned and all that. The other critical thing, and is global, is a worry, and especially in Kenya, is the issue of vaccines. The vaccines you have seen, like the ones from Pfizer, Moderna, and all that. There is what we are calling vaccine nationalism. What that means is that there's a risk of rich countries buying and keeping those things.
And already we've seen UK, Italy,
European Union buying
on
all that.
Yeah.
When are we going to get those things in developing countries like Kenya? And developing countries is where vulnerabilities are quite high. So to me, that's a major concern, and I think UNICEF and others are looking into that, but I think other development organizations, the government, we need to raise that voice to get those vaccines also in Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, Bonashege, in the closing thought, it's World Children's Day. Your message to children who may be watching this program today?
I think I'm happy that we have this day. I think I would want to encourage children to rise up, let their voices be heard, let them put their best foot forward, and let them be engaged. Let children no longer take a back seat for people to decide for themselves. Let your voice be heard.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed. So that's all we have time for in this discussion. But just before we go, some more thoughts from you on our hashtag New Normal, and this is what you've been saying to us on the platform. This is Daniel Rukwaro, create a specialist unit consisting officers who have the love of kids in their hearts. That's what you see as a solution. Thanks for that. Bebeto, you say there are laws that tend to protect children. These laws should be strengthened and enforced on the violators. Thank you, Bebeto, on that. So that's it from Your World this Friday, and indeed this week. We're back on air on Monday morning, starting with our usual workout session from 6:30 a.m. till 7, and then Gladys Gashanja will be on this seat with another discussion looking at national issues and issues that affect you. Thank you to my guest, Shege Ngugi, who is the Country Director of Child Fund. Thank you too for watching. Have a good weekend and stay safe. Thank you.